The Epistle to the Galatians, Chapter 4, Part 1. In studying this chapter, to appreciate the significance and blessedness of receiving the Spirit in our hearts, to understand Paul's concern over the Galatians' observance of holy days, and to comprehend the implications of the allegory of Hagar and Sarah. The practical argument continues in the first part of Chapter 4, as Paul describes the condition of those under the law prior to the coming of Christ. They were children and really no different than slaves. Galatians 4, 1-3. But I say that so long as the heir is a child, he is no different from a bondservant, though he is Lord of all, but is under guardians and stewards until the day appointed by the Father. So we also, when we were children, were held in bondage under the elements of the world. But when Christ came, he redeemed those under the law and made it possible for them to receive the adoption as sons. A special blessing of this sonship was receiving the Spirit in their hearts. Galatians 4, 4-6. But when the fullness of the time came, God sent out his Son, born to a woman, born under the law, that he might redeem those who were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of children. And because you are children, God sent out the Spirit of his Son into your hearts, crying, Abba, Father. Now they are no longer as a slave, but as a son, and an heir of God through Christ. Galatians 4:7. So you are no longer a bondservant, but a son, and if a son, then an heir of God through Christ. Paul then argues along sentimental lines. After having come to know the true God and being recognized by him, their observance of holy days is indicative of a desire to return to bondage. Galatians 4, 8-10. However, at that time, not knowing God, you were in bondage to those who by nature are not gods. But now that you have come to know God, or rather to be known by God, why do you turn back again to the weak and miserable elements, to which you desire to be in bondage all over again? You observe days, months, seasons, and years. That greatly concerns Paul, who would have them become like him. Galatians 4, 11-13. I am afraid for you, that I might have wasted my labor for you. I beg you, brothers, become as I am, for I also have become as you are. You did me no wrong, but you know that because of weakness of flesh, I preached the gospel to you the first time. He reminds them of their reception of him in the past, and he hopes that by telling them the truth, he has not become their enemy. Galatians 4, 14-16. That which was a temptation to you in my flesh, you didn't despise nor reject, but you received me as an angel of God, even as Christ Jesus. What was the blessing you enjoyed? For I testify to you that, if possible, you would have plucked out your eyes and given them to me. So then, have I become your enemy by telling you the truth? Wishing he could be with them in person and use a different tone, he feels like a woman going through labor again as he seeks to ensure that Christ is formed in them. Galatians 4, 17-19. They zealously seek you in no good way. No, they desire to alienate you, that you may seek them. But it is always good to be zealous in a good cause, and not only when I am present with you, my little children, of whom I am again in travail until Christ is formed in you. All of this because he has doubts about them. Galatians 4:20. But I could wish to be present with you now and to change my tone, for I am perplexed about you. The Epistle to the Galatians, Chapter 4, Part 1, the end.